What's going on, guys? Open has surged all the way to 1087 today. We've seen price come down quite a bit. We are trending right around that 990 to $10 level. Currently, while I'm recording this video, there's around 40 minutes left in the market. But all in all, the overall day has played out, and we've seen exactly what happened. So this volatile spike was really created by Opendoor surging as management commits to ongoing engagement with shareholders, and the company confirms plans to expand services throughout the US. And from that, we've seen a nice movement to the upside, stemming off that last movement that we saw a few trading days ago. And what I covered in the last video, this giant movement, around 70% in one day, getting all the way to that high of around $10, 10.50 to be exact. That's where we see a little bit of indecisive price action as we predicted. So stock did exactly what we predicted, a smaller pullback, kind of mess around after a huge move. We're trying to feel it out. And now we're seeing buyers try to push it higher. Although there still is a lot of indecision, guys, and a bunch of selling pressure around the range of 1057 and past that. So currently we're looking at if stock can keep this movement alive, continue trending upwards, and hit our price target of 1127. So guys, on the weekly time frame, we see a very strong stock and a ton of volume and buying pressure that we haven't seen in a very long time. Going on the monthly, guys, this gives it a bit more justice and better perspective, right? We haven't seen this type of movement in a very long time, guys. If we're really dialing it down and checking out exactly what's going on here, this has been going on for around 3 years. If we mark up that $5 psychological level, which was a tough point that we just got over recently, that is right around October to September of 2022. So that's about a 3-year long resistance level that we broke recently. And we've continued our movement to the upside with continued good fundamentals and news coming in with the stock as we remain in a very strong bullish perspective here. That 1127 is marked up from a micro resistance here, as well as being right around the IPO range. So we're currently battling and testing that IPO range, right? That IPO being at that 1057, that's where we see a little bit of selling pressure here. So if we were to get past that, and especially past that 1127, we would be looking very nice to continue this move to the upside. All right, guys, running back to the daily time chart here, pretty much what we saw before this whole run-up was a ton of volatility starts to come into the stock. All-time high volatility, not even close. And we see kind of a cup and handle pattern get formed. So we get that premature move from really nothing, 50 cents all the way to $5. And then we see a very obvious kind of neckline area here, right at that 392, and that's where we form a cup, a little bit of a handle structure, break out of that, and test higher. So we retest that $5. It's the exact point that we tried to test, and we got shot down pretty quickly. And then from that, we reject once again, try to get over that, reject, but we hold a bit higher. So now we hold at that neckline, turning into support. Once resistance, turned into support, and then that trends us a bit higher. And then we find a little bit of resistance right above that 642 level, which brings us down for a couple of trading days, but then we gap up and continue with that very large move that we've seen recently, guys. Historical type of move, right? Doing 70% in one day on the stock. And from that, guys, we don't see a major pullback, right? When you see a huge move like that, most times than not, you see a pretty big pullback. In some cases, retracing pretty much the entire movement. Here, guys, we see less than half of a retracement, and we kind of hold up here, but we do see a ton of selling pressure, as we see right here with these longer wicks. And so for 3 days, we've seen sellers and buyers battle it out. Sellers can't get a drastic pullback, but nevertheless, they do get a bit of a pullback. And today we've been fighting for that $10 level spot, trying to hold that $10 level and stay above it. It's exactly what buyers are trying to do here. If we look on the hourly, guys, a little bit better perspective, we see that gap up from that big movement recently, kind of play around here. Not a huge notable pullback, but we do get a little bit of a pullback. But we lay an obvious base. We're seeing some pretty nice support at that $880 level, which has led to a nice green wide bar engulfing a ton of price action, and then continuing up to that 1057. We hit 1087 as our high, but then you see that sellers try to step back in. Now, we see a lot more buying pressure here than we do selling pressure. For newer traders here, a long lower wick like that is signaling a lot of buying pressure. Sellers try to push us all the way down to around that 880 level, close to it, but buyers buy it right back up. A lot more of that than we see selling pressure at this moment. And then our recently hourly candle that we're examining right here, guys, tons of buying pressure, showing that the buyers are in that control. And then you see not a lot of selling pressure. So buyers are kind of winning this last hourly candle here, demonstrating some nice buyer strength, especially after a huge move to the upside with no serious notable pullback. And now the buyers are looking to win this battle, retest that 1057, where you would really want to be looking for a claim of that 1057 as a support. So try to get back above it. If we can break that, instead of seeing a weak wick like this, completely close over that level, and then the sellers are going to try to step in. That's where you want to see this level hold up as some support, lay that base, and they continue trending to the upside, breaking through that previous high of 1087, and then hitting our price target of 11.27, that being some obvious resistance of that IPO range, right around that point where we broke that, and then we really continued to the upside. So that 10.57 is the base of that range, kind of the bottom, and that 11.27 roughly the top of that range, as well as a low resistance marker right here, right, a micro resistance. So short-term traders, right, be careful with this. Since we've got really juice from this movement here, the contracts aren't exactly the best value, given that we've had a huge 70% movement. Risk to reward standpoint, they aren't exactly the best. For my long-term traders, guys holding the stock for a long period of time, we're in a very excellent position here. Since we've seen that added volatility, added buyer presence, beautiful, healthy ascending profile, recent volatility picking up, and no notable big pullback, now we're seeing buyers really try to step in here once again. Wouldn't surprise me that we get in a little bit of a pennant structure, kind of form a nice resistance and support level, possibly like a flag and pull like structure before really breaking out, getting tight after a very big movement. However, if that's not the case, you could be watching for a support at that 10.57 to hold up, trending to our price target of 11.27. Trending back to the hourly, we do see a very volatile move start to find a range. We're seeing an obvious range of 880 and 10.57, and the buyers or sellers are battling back and forth. But we do see recently the buyers are showing a lot more strength, with that green wide bar being the most strong price action within this range here, as well as some buying pressure here given that lower wick on the most recently hourly candle, trying to trend back to that 10.57. So like what I'm seeing here, guys, for short-term traders, we're looking pretty good. However, we are really just getting off this very volatile move to the upside. So if we break that 10.57, hold that as support, we're looking nice at 11.27. But keep in mind, we are up a lot, but the buyers are showing us that they aren't allowing a very big pullback whatsoever comparative to that movement. And for long-term traders, guys, I mean, just zooming out on the monthly chart once more, we're looking really good here. This is the strongest that this stock's been. The volume is completely uncomparable to anything that we've seen on the stock before. And as long as we can keep winning these little fights with the buyers, I think we could really be seeing a break of this IPO range, which would be around that 11.27 level and possibly higher, even to that $25 level. Definitely a possibility. It's going to be a little bit of time before we get that, but I like Open. I think we're in a good position here. If you enjoyed and want to see more Open content, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know your price predictions for the stock in the comments below. And as always, guys, trade smart. I'll see you all in the next one.